There's been this big movement about universal pre-K, and it's been a conversation that I have not lent my voice to, and not that my voice is very powerful, even though you guys might think it is. I want to talk to you about universal pre-K, and why it's key for military readiness. Yeah, that sounds crazy, doesn't it? Well, this is actually a new campaign that's being put out by Mission Ready, a cutesy name for a group of individuals or former military leaders who believe that we need to make universal pre-K a key part of our a cornerstone for our education our education system in this country. Now, let's explain. And there's certain states where universal pre-K is something that's universal. In the District of Columbia, which will be a state very soon, there is universal pre-K. So every student has to go to pre-K like every student has to go to kindergarten. And the statistics out there are real. We all know that if you can get the kids early, if you start teaching children at age 2, age 3, age 4 about cognitive skills, about their ABCs, about their 1, 2, 3s, this can mean there's a better likelihood that not only will they graduate high school as high performing, but they'll make it to college and there'll be better social outcomes. And I think this particular group, Mission Readiness rather, that is the premise of their whole story. That's the premise of why they came out, and they make sense. They say, listen, we can have all the sophisticated weapons in the world, but if we don't have people that can man these weapons and have the intelligence to man them 20, 30, 40 years down the line, we are going to fail this country and our military will fail. And I completely 100% agree with them on this particular point. We don't invest enough, and I hate the argument that we hear from Republicans all the time that they feel as though education spending. They always say education spending. We got to cut education spending. We got to get rid of the Department of Education. But America, this is less. I really don't think it should be called the Department of Education anymore. I think it should be called the Department of United States Citizen Readiness. Are we ready for a war 20 years from now? Are we ready to fight the global economic war that we're going to fight 20 years from now? We're competing with China, we're competing with Europe, we're competing with Africa, we're competing with Asia to send the best goods to market. Are we able to fight those battles if the manufacturers of tomorrow and the leaders of tomorrow aren't trained today? We're not. We are not ready to fight those battles, and the only way we can fight them is by starting to invest in those systems and in those children right now. And if we're going to invest in those children right now, that means universal pre-K has to be the cornerstone to that. We need to start educating our children earlier, quicker, and faster. If we want to compete with the likes of China, if we want to compete with the likes of Japan, if we want to compete with the likes of Asia, or Europe rather, we are going to have to educate our kids just like they educate their kids. They start educating children in Japan at age 2, age 3, age 4. Our kids don't get a chance to get a classroom education until age 5, age 6 at kindergarten. That has to change. Universal pre-K has to become a mandate in this country, because this is just not about your kids or my kids. All of our kids are part of a community of children, the community that makes up the United States of America. In order for that community to work, we're going to have to start educating people about that community a lot earlier, i.e., I agree with Mission Ready or Mission Readiness, and I understand that education earlier creates better social outcomes. It creates better economic growth models. It creates a better workforce. It creates a brighter America. It creates better communities. It will solve our debt problems, because if we're bringing in more revenue and we're making greater products and we have smarter people, we can just make more stuff. We can grow more stuff. We can be more innovative. We can be more sophisticated. All those things can happen if we make the investment right now to invest in universal pre-K. On top of that, it's a cost savings. Think about it. If we know for a fact that, especially in the state of Virginia, this is the truth, that the government in the state of Virginia, the Virginia governor or the Virginia Prisons Bureau, they build prison beds based on the third grade reading examination. So if we know for a fact that a third grade reading examination is an indicator of whether or not you become part of America's prison population, then that means we also know if we can educate them before they get to the third grade, or early childhood education can be the gateway to stop the United States, or Virginia for that matter, from building prisons. So let's educate them earlier instead of trying to spend money on them later in the prison system. Let's try to, like my mom always used to say, prevention is better than cure. Building prisons, that is cure. Pre-K education, that is prevention. Let's focus on prevention, America. Let's focus on prevention.